What's up, Tiger Gang? This is JT from the Poco Moonshine family. I'm back again with another episode of Chatting with Carnivores. Today we got Hayley from Meat is Where It's At. How you doing, Hayley?
I'm good. How are you?
I am doing awesome. I really am. I'm having a great day. I hope you're having a great day too. How's the weather by you?
It's actually rainy and it's not snowing, which is kind of rare. I'm over in Idaho. So,
Oh, Idaho. Okay. Uh,
yes.
is that where you're from?
I'm actually originally from Alaska. And I met
Really?
my
Over by
husband.
Bill, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, and I met Garrett in North Idaho when we moved there my senior year of high school.
Oh, that's cool. What's your favorite part about Alaska?
Oh my gosh. There's so many things I love. That really it would be the community of people. The people in general are just like everybody's family. And so uh, at least when I was there, that was quite a few years ago now. I would say probably 12 or 13 years ago is when I left. And so I loved the people and I mean the scenery, you can't get much better than the scenery there. But and then honestly, people always ask me about the long days. Um, and so in the summertime, like I remember as a kid, we would stay out till like 2 or 3 a.m. because the sun was still up. So we'd just be like playing like normal. And
Wow.
so anyway.
What about Idaho? What's your favorite part about Idaho?
Ooh, oh, that's a tough one. There's so many things about Idaho too.
I've never
I
been to Idaho, so enlighten me. What sticks out about Idaho?
Oh, wow, that's a hard one. I would say camping is a lot easier over here than it was in Alaska because Alaska is just remote. Everything is pretty remote. And so here there's like nice set up campgrounds and places to go to the bathroom. Like you don't always have to go in the trees.
Not as country?
Yeah, yeah. And so my kids like that a little bit better. I'm sure that they could suck it up and go, out in the forest. But yeah, I would say the camping is really great. And oh geez, what else? We are closer to family in Idaho than we were in Alaska because it was just like my little family unit that lived up there. So we're definitely closer to family.
That's awesome. Family is very important. It's as you could tell by my channel, it's super important.
Yes.
You're a mom, correct?
I am a mom. That's right. A mom of three.
Mom of three. Wow. Do
Yes.
you got all boys, all girls, mixture?
I've got three girls.
Wow.
8, 6, and 2 currently.
You guys ever gonna try for a boy?
Okay, that's funny because Garrett always jokes that he only makes girls. Because they say like it's the male gene, that like decides. And so, no, actually, I'm going to get into that story a little bit about why we haven't tried for a fourth and why that probably isn't an option right now. But yeah, that's part of my story.
I had met a guy, he had three daughters, and then he tried to have a boy, and they had twin girls. Yeah. And then they tried one more time for boy and they had twin girls again. So he ended up with 7 girls. And he said, I'll never try to have a boy again, ever. I was like,
I
yeah, I
love
think you should
that.
just stop, man. I think you should just stop, man.
Well, you know what? He's going to be very well taken care of in his old age.
Oh,
Like,
absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
feel like we really care about our dads and like want to take care of them. But yeah, God has a sense of humor with that. And I feel
Yeah, I
like that
just
would
want
have,
to put that out there. So in case
yes.
you guys try for another one, you might end up with another 3 of them.
You know what? We wouldn't be mad about it. That's for sure.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So let's talk some carnivore diet. What
Yeah.
what motivated you to start? Were there any health reasons or any personal goals? Like what made you start the carnivore diet?
Yeah. So, wow, there's so many things. And I'm going to try to remember all of them because there's layers for sure. But, um, we had been vegan for about 9 years, I would say.
Really?
I round up to 10 when I talk about it because it was just, last year in March, or I'm sorry, last year in July when we started carnivore. And so, the 10 years that we were on the vegan train, doing the whole vegan lifestyle. We thought we were doing the best thing for us. And, still now in comments on some of my videos, I'm sure you get them too. People like try to lecture you about vegan is best. And
I
so,
get it all the time.
yes. And I'm like, I'm just gonna let my community let them know what's going on. But yeah, so we were vegan. Garrett, he suffers from eczema. It covers 75% of his body. And so anywhere that you can't see his skin, he has it, or
Mm.
you can't see because of clothing. He has it. And so he's had it since he was 14. That was one of his main reasons. But mine, I had severe postpartum depression. It could have been creeping into postpartum like psychosis. I was never diagnosed with that, but I would have these intrusive thoughts that were really scary. Anxiety was really bad. I would work out all the time and never make any progress in my body. I was very inflamed. And I had hidradenitis suppurativa,
Whoa, whoa,
which,
whoa, whoa.
yes.
Say that 3 times. Wow.
Yes. So for short, it's HS. So people will refer to it as HS. And it's basically where you develop these boils and they kind of raise up under your skin. And they're usually in the creases of your body, like your neck, your armpits, your groin, behind your knees, maybe. And so people will develop these. And it's an autoimmune, where
Is it painful?
oh yeah. Like I remember having one when I was in labor. It was my big boil in my armpit and I couldn't put my arm all the way down. So like in labor, I was like trying to compensate for this boil in my armpit. And so
God
um
bless you, Hayley.
oh gosh, it was it was so bad. And I joined these support groups on Facebook cuz I didn't know anything about it. I'd never heard of anybody that had it. And typically they say like, well, it's genetic, it runs in families. And I was like asking around my family and nobody had it. And so I was trying to figure out what was going on with that. And my doctor was putting steroid injections in it and saying, like, there's no cure for this. Like, it just gets worse and worse. That's what he told me.
Is it something
And
that pops or anything, or does it
yeah,
just stay
so
there?
yeah, well, they'll develop and you'll feel it as like a lump. It's just you would think at first that it's a pimple maybe, and then it'll get bigger under your skin and you're not supposed to pop them. But I
Mm.
didn't know that at the time. And so it was so inflamed, it was turning like purple on the top. And it was the skin was so thin that Garrett was like, we got to pop this because I was really pregnant and uncomfortable. And that made it way worse. So
Oh.
I don't do this at home, you guys. Don't ever do this, please. But Garrett took what is it called? Like you put them in a tool and they're really sharp. But it's like a thin piece of metal that's really sharp on one side. I'm sure
Like
everybody
an
knows.
X-Acto blade.
Yes, 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 just like that. And so he like poked it and it like exploded.
Oh my Lord.
But you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to let it go back down because once you pop it or it pops on its own, it just keeps recurring. It'll
Oh.
pop and then it'll seal over and then it'll grow again and then it'll pop and it'll seal over. And so these people in these Facebook groups, I thought it would be helpful to me, but people were like showing pictures of where they had them. In being intimate with their partner was painful because they had them down there, like
Mm.
all these things. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I in for? And at the time I was 26 or 27. And so and it typically is people who are obese, people who have, it's linked to like heart disease and heart attacks. You're more likely to have those if you have HS. And so I was like, am I this person? Like, what is happening to me? And so anyway, it kept coming back and going away and coming back. And I started to get little spots elsewhere. And that was up until I started carnivore. And once I started carnivore, that completely disappeared.
You're kidding me.
No, in that group, I said, "Hey, try carnivore. Like I cured it. Like it's gone." And people were like, "No, you can only be in remission." And so I got kicked out for saying that there was a cure. But it's okay. Like I get it. I get the
People are so
skepticism.
afraid of information that challenges what they believe in, and
Yes.
it's just that's such a shame. Sorry, I didn't mean
Yes.
to cut you off. It's
No,
just
no, you're
interesting.
totally right. And it's really interesting to me that mindset, but I know that mindset because I was a vegan for so long. I can relate to people who have taken on that lifestyle, and it becomes a religion, and nobody can tell you otherwise. You literally, nobody can get into your brain. And I was that way too. So I understand those people, but now looking back, it's like, but it hurts so bad. It's such a horrible disease. And why would you not try anything? And I
Mhm.
mean anything to fix it.
Absolutely. So what what made you start vegan? And then tell me what did you hear, like almost 10 years vegan you said, like what information did you hear, or something that you said, you know what, I've got to try this. I've got to try something else. Like tell me both.
Yeah, so this story goes way back, really. But so 10 years ago, Garrett and I got married, and we were raised in the Mormon church. And so we, there's something called the word of wisdom in Mormonism, where people, it basically says that meat, you should only eat meat in times of winter or famine, and that grains are the staff of life, vegetable, things like that. Um, and so we used that, the word of wisdom saying, eat meat sparingly, is what it says, to base that belief system that we had in veganism as well, after we watched a documentary called Forks Over Knives, which a lot of people are familiar with. And we were absolutely sold. I was like, they're telling us what the word of wisdom is telling us, which is in Mormonism, what you believe, basically the health code that God gave you, right, to follow. And you have to abstain from things like coffee as well, and alcohol and drugs, which are all good things to abstain from. But they kind of skip over the meat part, and we thought we're following it to a T, exactly how God told us to follow it. And so we used that doctrine from our church at the time to justify being plant based. And that's what kept us in that space for 10 years. We were
Oh.
believing that God told us to do it, basically. And I did make a video about that, but a lot of people were saying, like, well, that's not how I interpreted the word of wisdom, and all of that. And it's up to personal interpretation. So I'm not saying that anyone who interprets it differently is wrong.
Mhm.
I'm just saying that that's how we interpreted it. And there's nobody tells you that you're wrong either if you bring it up. So that's basically what happened. That's how it kept us vegan for those 9.5 years.
Wow. What's your belief now, if I can ask? Do you still believe that, or?
Well, we consider ourselves now baby Christians. We left the Mormon church in March of last year, which actually led me to the carnivore diet, because I had a seed planted by Michaela Peterson when I was scrolling on YouTube one time, and I was like, that was probably in the fall or winter of 2021, maybe 2022. And I thought that's ridiculous because I was vegan at the time. And I thought that could never be healthy. We went to a Jordan Peterson, what's it called? Where it was just one of his events
Like a
and
seminar?
seminar. Thank you. And we went to Salt Lake City and we watched him, and someone in the Q&A said, like, well, what do you think about nutrition? Because they knew that he did Lion Diet. And he was like, well, we don't know much. I feel like nutrition is ever evolving. That was his answer. But we were like, Lion, on the drive home, we remember talking to each other and being like, he's so unhealthy inside, you know? And so, and like, that's not what God wants, and all that stuff. And so anyway, what was your question again? I'm going off on a tangent.
No, I want to know too, are a lot of other Mormons vegan? Is that, like, does vegan go with that religion quite a bit?
Yeah, so we had found a community of people that there were thousands and thousands of them that were interpreting the word of wisdom the same way. And so we found that community, and they had events in like Utah all the time. We never attended an event, but there was this large group of people that did follow it. And we like to say how it's written, because it says eat meat sparingly only in times of winter or famine. And back when it was written in the early 1800s, mid 1800s, there was literally winter and famine. Like you either had meat or you didn't have meat based on the, where you lived and all those things. So we interpreted winter or famine as you never need it because we have stores,
Yeah.
right? We can go get it, vegetables and fruits whenever we need to. And so, anyway, that we left the church in March of last year, found Carnivore, and I started it pretty much right away. And then Garrett in July, and Garrett started it a week later after seeing my benefits after just 7 days. And so we do consider ourselves just tiny baby Christians. We're learning. I have a prayer night tonight with some ladies, and I absolutely love it. And I'm very happy to have found Jesus.
That's awesome. Me too. Me too. Me too. How long have you been on carnivore?
Yeah, so July of 2023, I started July 7th. What is that now? Seven-ish months. We're close to 7 months.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
That's awesome. And how did you hear about carnivore?
So my first introduction to carnivore was Michaela Peterson's video. I can't remember which one it was, but she was talking about how it healed her autoimmune issues and all these things. And I just remember thinking, like, she looks really pretty and she's really healthy, but she's sick on the inside. And you just have like, but I started to have this like cognitive dissonance where I was like, you know, that didn't equate really in real life. That doesn't equate, because I do think that our bodies give us warning signs, and most of the time will let us know. I know there's some like genetic cancers and things like that where you maybe wouldn't know, but in general, our bodies are very intelligent, and they do warn us when something's going on. And then after that, when I was able to, when we ended up leaving Mormonism and leaving that mindset behind and the word of wisdom behind, I was able to like, that was like in my little file cabinet in my brain. And I brought it to the forefront and was like, what was that? And then I found Dr. Barry. And he was the one that I like his videos if you're new to carnivore, or the idea of carnivore, because they're short and they're quick, and he gets right to the point
Right to
about
the
the
meat and the
science.
bones, don't he?
Yes. And he's very blunt and he's very honest about it. And I liked that. That worked for me. I know some people like to just follow those who are sharing their experience, and it's maybe not as like science based, but it made sense to me when he would share his information.
Who's your favorite carnivore to watch on YouTube?
That's so hard. Oh man, I like Carrie from Homestead How. Oh, who else? You guys, obviously, of
We're
course.
gonna go knocking on some more doors this weekend, so get
Yay!
ready.
I love that. I love those videos. I think that's so amazing that you guys do that. And such a good introduction for people to kind of see. Anyway, I love those. And then let's see. Oh, I'll have to come back to that. I do love Anthony Chafee. I like his Q&As, because then I can kind of see what people are struggling with or their questions. And a lot of times I can associate with those questions. And some of them I don't realize that I had those same questions. And so those Q&As are helpful. And same with Nisha Salisbury. She is really great.
Salisbury, I like that. That's
Yeah.
I like that.
Yes, she's awesome. And she's a mom too. And I like watching her. And she's very like honest with people. Like, yeah, you don't have to do it a certain way. Like, just do what makes you feel good. And I think that's an important message to get out there, because it's not do or die. It's find the nuance that works for you and just go with it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And what about your daughters? Are they on carnivore?
Well, we've been transitioning them slowly, but I would say currently they're ketovore. I'm trying to find the balance between carnivore and keto for them.
Mhm.
And that's been kind of a struggle, but not because of them, because of me being insecure about what I should be feeding them, because they're growing. So like they probably have more raw milk. They have cheese and a little bit of fruit occasionally as like a treat because I want them to feel like they're enjoying life too and not feel so restrictive because I have trauma related to food from growing up. And I don't want to push separate trauma onto them that is related to carnivore. Like, if you're so strict, then when they're a grown up and they leave the house, they're going to go bananas on all this stuff,
On the
right? And
bananas.
on the bananas. So I'm trying to find that balance where it's like, hey, you make choices for you, especially when we're out and about or at a church event or whatever. And they usually advocate for themselves and at least will say, is there a gluten-free option? Is there a keto option? And they're really good about asking people that. And in our church, actually, which is where we have most of our experiences outside of the home because we homeschool. So I don't have to worry about that like in school, but a lot of the people have these. We had one carnivore from New Zealand in our church, which was like, we were like, oh my gosh, we're best friends because I never meet other carnivores in person.
Yeah.
But they do try to take care of the people who have specific diets, which has been really nice.
That's awesome. And you mentioned Dr. Chafee. We're talking about kids. I have a stream with Chafee tomorrow where it's all about carnivore and kids. We're going to talk all about,
Yes.
and I want people to tune into that are parents that have kids. And I want them to ask the hard questions to Dr. Chafee about, is this okay if we put our kids on this diet? Is it going to stunt their growth? Things like that. We need to ask the hard questions. That way we can eliminate some of those fears that we have and maybe give us some more confidence, as for being a parent. So hopefully you tune into that too and throw a question. If you have a question, send it to me. I will ask them. But
Oh
it's
my
something
gosh.
important to me that I wanted to do with Chafee because the kids are our future, right?
Yes, yes. That is so important. And really, we do need to advocate for like, I mean, when I first started carnivore, I had no idea what to feed my kids because that pyramid in your brain, or like from the pediatric visits from when my kids were really little, them showing you and telling you what to do. And it just like sticks with you. And you feel like if you try to go outside of that you're doing it wrong, even if it is actually healthy for them,
Mhm.
and so having a doctor tell you, hey, I know that this is how you should feed your kids, and to give parents that confidence, that's so important. And I'm going to be watching that.
Awesome, awesome. Like I said, if you got a question, I'll give it to him. So you were 10 years vegan. How was the transition to the diet? Was that rough on you?
That's a great question. Um, I think it was, and I think maybe I've blocked out the beginning of my carnivore journey a little bit
Not that
because
bad, huh?
I mean, I really think that it went easier than I thought because I did join some of those groups on Facebook, in the carnivore community, and people were like, "Yeah, be careful. You're going to have like oxalate dumping and like all of these things happen to you and this pain and whatever." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is going to be so bad." But it really wasn't too bad for me. The worst part was the insomnia. Like that insomnia that I experienced for like probably 2 or 3 weeks, that was a lot to deal with, but it has evened out, and I do experience it occasionally because I know that my body is still healing. It's only been about 7 months, but
Hmm.
overall, it's been so nice, like to be satisfied in what I'm eating. Part of our story is that when we were, I say whole food plant based, but in reality, I could not be whole food plant based without binging
Mm,
standard American food because my body was dying to eat fat. So, on a whole food plant based diet, especially on Forks Over Knives, Game Changers, whatever, what's it called? Documentaries that you watch, they talk about like no oils, no salt, no fats, like only get your fats from avocados or uh, olives or whatever. Like you don't do refined fat and stuff like that. And obviously no butter. And so I was just dying to have fat. And looking back, and I get these comments sometimes like, well, you know, you didn't stick to whole food plant-based. So that's why you looked the way you did. That's why you were sick, because you were eating standard American food. And I'm like, but doesn't it make sense that our bodies wouldn't crave anything outside of the right foods for you if it had the right nutrients? And so I think the issue that people run into is that you're you're trying so hard. Like, they tell me this is what I'm supposed to do, and this will save the planet and the animals and all of that stuff, when you're just withering away, and then maybe you're binge eating other things and then feel guilty. And it was just a constant like that for 10 years. And like, yeah, those people, I'm sorry. It's cold in this room.
Yeah,
um
it's cold. I'm in the second room of my house. It's cold.
you turn down that AC or whatever. Garrett's like a warm sleeper, but anyway. So yeah, I we did binge. Whole food plant-based, standard American diet that night. Whole food plant-based all day, standard American diet. So I'm talking like burgers, French fries, anything that had oil or fat in it. My body would just be like, I have to have that. And I had no control. There was never any control to say
Mm.
no, because my body needed it. What was in those patties and the cheese, even though it's not the best. And so yeah, the transition was hard at first, because you kind of have the carb cravings. And
Cravings.
because whole food plant-based is like rice, beans, potatoes are huge, and pastas and all of that stuff. And so once we got over that hump of like 3 weeks, I'm just satisfied all the time. I don't crave anything. And like, that makes sense to me. That tells me I'm doing the right thing as a binge eating recovering person, I guess.
That's awesome. And did you get the keto flu when you switched
Uh,
over?
um, I don't feel like I got the keto flu. I know it's different for everybody though. I did though go through a phase of a couple days where I was just laying on the couch and had no energy. And I think that might have been it for me, because Garrett had to stay home from work. He can work remote when he needs to. And I was just like, I can't do anything. I'm not gonna take care of anybody today. Like, and I also had like intense joint and muscle pain. And that made me have to lay down too. So I feel like that was kind of my body's version of the keto flu. But I know other people have like more intense symptoms.
No stomach pains or anything
I
coming
didn't,
from vegan?
yeah, I didn't have, I don't remember any stomach pain.
That's great. And it's Garrett, right? Your husband?
Yeah, yeah.
Did he get any keto flu when he switched over from vegan?
I think he did have a major flare up for his eczema, because I think it was kind of shocked with what he was eating, and uh, dumping a lot. But I think that he had some nausea
Mhm.
and cramping in his stomach, because I think, at least the stuff that I've learned, is that eczema can be because of your gut microbiome being all messed up. And so he has I think, a really bad gut microbiome. If you're watching, Garrett, I'm sorry. That's
Did
just
he
how I
ever
feel.
take probiotics?
Yes,
Okay,
we
I
did.
had to take probiotics prior to carnivore because I always felt like crap, and the only time I felt halfway decent was on 2 or 3 probiotics every day.
Yes, yes. And he introduced some like fermented food, and I think that helped a little bit too. But he ended up having to take it out because it would flare his eczema after that. So he's like going back and forth trying to figure out what's going to fix the gut microbiome for him. But yeah, that was pretty much what he experienced. And I think his was a little more intense than mine, because for the majority of our marriage, he's been pretty unhealthy.
Is his eczema any better at all on
Oh
carnivore?
yeah. Oh yes.
Really?
I hope that he decides to share those before and after photos, because I did take the before photos, because it's really prominent. Like he at the beach, he won't take off his shirt at the pool. He's afraid of what people will say because when he was younger, people would ask, "What's wrong with you?" And I'm like, I don't know why people ask that in the
They're
first place,
so
but
insensitive, some people, they just have
yeah.
no idea that asking a question can really make someone feel insecure, you
Oh,
know?
for the and yeah, since then, just for years and years. And so they'd ask if it's contagious, stuff like that. And so anyway.
I'd say, "Yeah, get away from me." "Oh,
Yes.
quit asking me questions." I'd love to have him on here one day and share his story too. He sounds
Oh,
like he's
he
got a
would
cool
love to
story.
do that. He would love to do that.
So, what were there any challenges when you switched from vegan to carnivore? Like, what were the challenges for you, or did you already
Ooh.
kinda mention some?
So let me think. Uh so the insomnia was not something I was expecting. That and I've had a lot of people message me and say like, is this normal? Like how can this be healthy if I can't sleep? Like and then the carb cravings, people will I had this feeling too, like, well, why would I be craving something that I don't need if I'm getting everything that I need? But at the same time, there is a period of time where you're getting over addiction. It is
Yep,
literally an addiction. And I think we need to treat people with more grace when they're transitioning or even when they're in it, because we've had a couple of slip ups, but like you're getting over an addiction. You're trying to reprogram your brain to want something else for energy. And it's all biology. Like our ancestors, if they could get honey for the energy, the quick energy, they would go get it. you know because that would help get them to their next satiating meal, like an animal kill, because it's quick energy.
yep,
But we are surrounded by it. Every time you go to the grocery store, you have the opportunity to go get that quick energy, which is what biologically we're supposed to do. That's how we have been created, so that we can survive to that next kill or whatever it is for the tribe. And so I think everyone needs to give themselves some more grace with that, and people need to stop with this perfectionism that they're pushing on other carnivores. And because it's just going to create issues for that person, thinking like, well, if I can't do it perfectly, then I shouldn't do it at all. And like that's not, don't ever buy into that mindset, because that will make you fail. That'll make you go back to your old ways. um so that carb addiction is hard. That those cravings you'll have at the beginning are hard, but there are ways, like Kiltz's ice cream. If you need something sweet, use Kiltz's ice cream. That was a crutch for us for a while, and now we don't have it very often at all, but it's still a fun treat to have.
yeah, that's awesome, and I feel like perfection always gets in the way of progress, no matter who you are.
Oh, I
You
like that. Yes,
you've gotta
absolutely.
just focus on, and failure is just data. It just shows you what didn't work, and then you just avoid that. Now
Yes.
you mentioned slip ups. I I think it's important to talk about just for a minute. Like, what were your slip ups, and do you think slip ups are the end of the world when you're
Oh,
on
yeah.
carnivore? So let's give me the rundown.
Yeah. So, around I don't know what other people would deem a slip up, but for me, I was being very strict carnivore for a long time. So like from July until Thanksgiving, I didn't have anything because it triggers my binge eating. I will even binge eat keto foods. And so I have to be pretty particular about what I decide to eat. But around Thanksgiving, I made a keto green bean casserole. So it had green beans in it, and then the rest of the ingredients were keto. Or, I'm sorry, carnivore ingredients. But when I ate that, my body was like, I don't know if it's because there were like certain carbs in the green beans or whatever, but like I ate so much of that. And and then I did make a like it's a cranberry jello dessert that has been in my family for a while, and I make it every Thanksgiving. And I was like gonna try to make it sugar free, but then it was gonna be hard to like figure out the measurements because the sugar free jello packets are like tiny. And so I was like, I don't know which ones to get. So I just got the regular, and I binged that as well. So that had sugar in it. I made a sugar-free topping but in general, it was like a lot of fruit and, jello. So that was a big slip up for me, I would say. And it took me about 2 or 3 weeks to recover from that because after that, I would just keep binging carnivore foods. So I would eat a lot of eggs or a lot of bacon until I was so stuffed that it hurt. And it's just like, as a recovering binge eater, it's really hard to break past that cycle when you go back to it. And I think I got into that cycle because I was eating plant-based and then I would be full in a sense from the plant-based foods, but I needed the nutrients from the fat and the standard, diet. So I
Mhm.
would binge until I was so over full. Um, and then we did have a family event just a couple days ago where my mom made some keto brownies. And I don't even think they're considered keto because she put sugar in them. So she's really gluten-free, like grain-free, but I had some of that and I stopped myself like 3/4 of the way through my piece. And I did better than a lot of other people, I think. But at the same time, it was like, it got me into that cycle again. And I was able to recover quicker this time. I think because I've been doing this a little longer, I've had some practice, binge eating and then kind of trying to recover. So this time it wasn't a big deal. But no, it's, if you don't beat yourself up, I still do beat myself up, and I'm trying to undo the damage I've done over the past 10 years of, thinking I'm eating the right food, I'm doing what God told me to do, and then binging that standard American diet food. And then because I did that, I feel like I failed God. I feel like I failed myself. I failed my church. Like that cycle of failure is really strong personally for me. But I'm working on it. And I hope that me telling you guys, please don't beat yourself up, even though I do. I hope that sticks because I'm working hard.
I think we all beat ourselves up from time to time, unfortunately. But you
Yes.
said you you were able to get out of those binges a little easier. What helps you snap out of a binge when you're in one? Just so other
Yeah.
people are watching, if they get in a binge, maybe like tip do you have for them? Like, what do you do?
Yeah. So when I do have a binging episode, I feel like I'm out of control and I haven't figured out how to stop. Like typically I wouldn't stop until I've eaten until I'm so full that it hurts. That's kind of what happens to me. And then I stop that specific episode. But to recover from that, I really do have to like cinch it into fatty red meat and water. And that way my body can, and typically an OMAD, so I would eat like a large ribeye the next day and then I would wait till the 24 hours so my body can detox whatever I had that was a binge for me, and then eat another thing of fatty red meat, whatever that might be for you. And then once I feel like, okay, I'm in a rhythm, I feel good, I'm not bloated anymore, mentally I'm in a good place, and that's an important one. Make sure you're mentally in a good place before you add things back in. And that's been helpful for me because it's almost like a reset. And I know some people fast too. My body hasn't reacted the best to fasting, but um, I think that the longer I'm on carnivore, the easier it's going to be to fast. So OMAD typically works pretty well for me when I'm trying to recover from binging.
Mm, that's great. So you never a cold shower isn't one of the tips, like hop in there and spray yourself, like wake up.
Yes. Oh my gosh, guys. Yeah. I mean, I didn't even think about trying that. That'd be good. Like take my food I'm binging and just like turn the cold shower on and be
Yeah,
like,
just
stop. But
It
it's
just came
totally,
across my mind. I was like, well, let's see if she says cold shower. And you did it. I was like, well, maybe that's just maybe I'm a little weird, I guess.
no, that's so funny. I love it. Yes.
So could you walk us through like a typical day of eating for you? Like, what do you like to eat mostly on a day-to-day basis for your carnivore diet?
Yeah. So recently, the past couple weeks, I would say, I have been having like buttered scrambled eggs, and I'll
Oof.
have like 4 of those. I know they're so good. I'll have 4 buttered scrambled eggs, and I'll put a decent, like maybe a tablespoon and a half of butter, the grass-fed butter from Costco in there. And then we'll scramble it up. And I like to put heavy whipping cream or sour cream in my eggs. It
Ooh,
makes them fluffy or flavorful, depending. They're super good. And then I'll do like 4 or 5 pieces of bacon. That's breakfast. And occasionally, if I'm feeling good, like I'm not going to binge, I'll put some salsa on top. I can tend to binge things that have salsa on them. So I have to be careful about that. But I do like to put salsa occasionally. And then sometimes I'll have a coffee at home with some heavy whipping cream in it. I've been trying to cut that back to see if I feel better than I feel good mentally, but feel better mentally than I do. And then I'll have like a ribeye for lunch. I like to make a carnivore lasagna that Courtney Luna posted on her page. She's also a carnivore I really, really love to watch. She's pretty blunt and honest. And I like that. I think we need more of that out there to defend what we're doing and to share it with people and be strong about it. I'm always afraid to like hurt people's feelings. Not that I ever want to hurt people's feelings, but I want to be honest too. And it's just like Italian sausage, ground beef, mozzarella, ricotta cheese. And then if I'm not going to binge, sometimes I will put marinara sauce, the Rayo's on there. But most of the time I just stick with the ricotta. And yeah, that's probably a typical day. I have started incorporating sauerkraut and kimchi from Dr. O'Mara's, him mentioning that, and see how my gut feels when I do that. But yeah, that's kind of what I do.
When I used to eat salsa, it was all about the burn. Like
Yes.
if it didn't leave a burn, because for me it would be like this delay effect. I get a burn, then I'm like, ooh, I need some more. Then I got another burn. I'm like, oh, I can't stop.
Yeah,
You ever
I
put salt
love
on your eggs, or is that just me?
I do. I absolutely do. I
Okay,
love,
okay.
love, love that.
I just
And
wanted to know if I was really weird or not.
yes, I love the Mateo's salsa from Costco. It's like a thinner, kind of like seedy salsa. I don't know how to say that, but it's so good. But anyway, this is carnivore. Sorry, guys. If you're keto and you like salsa, go for that one.
So, since you've been on carnivore, prior to your 10 years vegan, have you noticed any big differences, like your energy, your mood, your attitude, the mental health, all that stuff? Like what would be the difference you noticed, if any?
Yeah, so I have a list actually here that
Let's
I
go.
can go through. Yes. So
I'm ready. Bring it
Um,
on.
so the first one is obviously weight loss. And after I go through this, maybe I can share my screen and kind of show those to you guys, because the day 1 to day 7 is absolutely shocking to me personally. That our bodies are so willing to let go of inflammation. Our bodies are dying to let go. And then higher libido. I think that's a really important one, especially for women. There's like this stigma around like how men want to be intimate and women do not, type of thing. And I just think honestly, it's another thing that shouldn't be happening to women, and I know men go through that too. That shouldn't really be the case, right? Because we're supposed to enjoy each other and enjoy our marriages, and so that one was huge for me. That was a sore spot for us
Be
in our
fruitful
marriage.
and multiply. That's what
Yeah,
it says.
yes, exactly. And like all animals do it. They enjoy that. That is their life purpose, and we find joy in it. And so that was such a sore point for our marriage for a long time, unfortunately. And it wasn't anybody's fault. It's just there was not enough, there wasn't nutrients, there wasn't hormone regulation. All those things play into that. So if you're struggling with that in your marriage or your life and you haven't tried carnivore, give it a try. It's worth it. It's worth a shot.
You'll be jumping each other's bones in no time, folks. I'm telling you.
Yeah, yes.
Let's go.
Oh my gosh. Less anxiety. I've been anxiety ridden. Part of my story also is I was having IBS symptoms where
Mm.
like at one point, so these episodes would come on just randomly, and I would have sulfur burps, crazy diarrhea, throwing up in the middle of the night, passing out in the middle of the night, like all these things. And Garrett had to catch me a couple times when I was in the bathroom on the toilet because I would just pass out. And he called the ambulance one time.
Oh,
This was like
no.
right before we started Carnivore. It was still happening because
Please
we
tell me
weren't.
he took you off the toilet before they got there, right?
Yeah, well, no, he didn't. I woke up, like, slumped back, and he said, like, my eyes were it was just, like, open, and my mouth was open, and it scared him so bad, and, like,
That is
he was,
scary,
like,
though.
slapping my face and
Mm.
trying to get me to wake up, and they showed up, and they're like, "Ah, this just happens sometimes." And I'm tired of people telling me that, like, "This is normal, it
It's not
happens."
normal.
Doesn't Dr. Chafee talk about that, like about labs specifically? Like, oh, they'll say, oh, your labs are normal. And it's like, your labs are normal compared to other sick people. Like, don't tell me this is normal to just pass out. I don't know. So our species would have, died off a long time ago if things like that were normal, because then you're just going to be eaten by predators because you passed out randomly. You know what I mean? That doesn't make sense.
So no more passing out on the
No,
toilet on carnivore?
yeah, for the
Good.
past 7 months, I've had 0 episodes.
That's great.
Thank goodness, 'cause and I think it was stress induced as well, which is a hormone dysregulation, right? The cortisol, and, it would happen a lot on road trips. Like, if we got to somebody's house, it would happen that night, and I would be up all night experiencing that,
Mm.
and it was just horrible, and everyone thought, like, there was something super wrong with me. But anyway, so less anxiety because I think anxiety was linked to those episodes.
Absolutely.
I have 0 depression. And my depression story is kind of a long one, and I haven't really shared it with many people, but the feeling like, especially after you have a baby, feeling like you don't want to do this, feeling like you don't want to be a mom, even though you're battling that thought of like your biology wanting the baby, right? You want to be close to the baby, but like your brain doesn't want to be close to the baby. And like it's such a mind, it's just crazy when you want the baby so bad, but your brain is fighting you, or whatever's going on in your mind is fighting you. And it started with postpartum depression, and then it morphed into other things. And like I said, I wasn't ever diagnosed with postpartum psychosis, but I did have very, very intrusive thoughts that were really scary to me. And I had to bring that to Garrett because I cared so much about my children. And you have these fears of like, well, if CPS knows, they're going to take my kids away from me, right? These thoughts like you're not going to actually get help. They're just going to take things from you or
Yeah.
whatever. And, but people genuinely want to help. And so when I was able to share that with Garrett, then we were able to make steps that made me feel comfortable. So because I loved my children so much, I have to protect them. That biology is still there. So someone else needed to know what was the intrusive thoughts. So that experience, was really scary for me. And now it's like a totally different life. Like I can't even imagine being in that place again. And it's hard to imagine why I was in that place. And I know it's because of hormones and the issues with regulating and not getting nutrients you need for your brain, like cholesterol. Like there's so many brain issues people have because they're not getting enough cholesterol, and mental issues. So anyway, no depression anymore, which is like a yay for me because that was a long journey.
That's very important because it's a killer out there. It really does.
Yes. Something I wasn't expecting was my hair got a lot shinier, a lot easier to manage. And in my before and after photos, I'll point that out because I didn't notice it until someone in a group said, "Did you get a hair treatment done, or did you dye it darker?" And like I did nothing.
Girl, I ate some ribeyes.
Yeah, that's right. And along with that goes better skin. Like I used to get breakouts on my chest all the time. I get them occasionally when I'm oxalate dumping. I feel like I'll get a rash on my chest right here. And then of course my HS went away, which is definitely an autoimmune skin condition. It causes toxicity in your blood, which causes the buildup of those, nodules under your skin. Excuse me. And so obviously that's gone, and a lot of those issues are gone with the rashes and things like that. So,
Amazing.
um, oh, go ahead.
I said that's amazing.
Oh, yes, yes, I'm so happy about that. And then things like more patience, with my children, that's a huge one. I think a lot of moms feel like, that they're not a good mom because they're not being more attentive to their kids, or not, wanting to be with them or play with them, or not have the energy to do those things. And like, really, a lot of these things, you guys, are because of hormone dysregulation. And like,
Mm.
your mood is affected by that, and your libido is affected by that, and your level of patience, and how much you're able to take in that regard is all linked to that. And so, more patience, level headed. I feel like I can, listen to my 6-year-old tell a really long, long, long story, and I don't get so like frustrated. Like, can you like move this along? um, and then obviously more energy. I think more clearly. I don't have that brain fog. And like, when you have the brain fog, you don't realize you have it until it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
So
something that so many people carry with themselves. More critical thinking. The critical thinking and being able to express myself using words is so much stronger than it used to be. It's like you're quicker in your brain. And that's also something I was not expecting. And that goes along with more confidence. And then the other things like less food prep. It doesn't take long, you guys. It's so quick. Grocery shopping is easy. Sometimes can be a little expensive, but just shop within your budget. Like, figure out what that budget is. And there's good, cheaper cuts of meat like chuck roast. I'm sure you have a couple, JT, that you love. And so just at hot dogs, even, you guys, whatever you can afford, just do it, and it'll be worth it. Less food waste. We don't throw away as much spinach. And I joke that we like threw away so much spinach and I think God was like helping us do that because spinach is trash.
hey, when you grow up, you see Popeye eating a can, and then his muscles pop out, and it's like
Yes.
he
Oh
wasn't
my
eating
gosh.
steak. They didn't have him eating meat. It was spinach.
That's so true. Wow. I didn't even make that comparison. That's amazing. Ugh, why do they do this to us?
Yeah, it's like it's you got a lot of things going against you, even from a child. The stuff we're watching, the stuff we're told, the stuff we're taught, and the stuff we're
Yes.
given. It's a journey, right?
It's crazy. And something else that's kind of funny, and like, people make fun of me because I talk about poop a lot. Like, and it's because it overtook my life for a long time. Without going into too much detail, the person that I married, God bless him. It's been a road, you guys. And I hope he's not
Garrett,
watching right now.
Garrett.
Yeah. But it was all the time. Like, he was always in the bathroom. There's like jokes about, men coming home from work and just being in the bathroom, and like the wife saying something or getting upset. And women do, they have that issue too, where they're going to the restroom a lot. And my theory, I'm sure this has been proven somewhere, but don't take my word for it. I don't know. But if you lived in a tribe or a clan that a long time ago, that if they had to poop as much as us Americans do, they would be moving their camp a lot. Like, a lot, a lot. So
Yeah.
it literally is helping the environment by not pooping every day. Like, I probably poop every 3 days. And like, we shouldn't be afraid to discuss those things, because like, it can tell you if you're healthy or if you're not healthy, or if there's something, inside you that's not functioning properly. And so I think it's important to like mention that. People say, oh no, you need the fiber. You need the fiber because it makes you poop. And it's like, you guys, it is so nice to not think about that for like 3 days.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So yeah, those are all my benefits. That was a lot, but
That's great. I love those benefits.
yeah.
Have you talked to your doctor since you've been on carnivore?
So we went in for our wellness exams. I think that was the end of November that we went in. And I had lost like 25 pounds at the time, and Garrett had lost 30 pounds, and he went in first. And we went separately so that I was at home with the kids, and then he went, and then I went separately. But
Poor
he was
Garrett, he's
like,
got to go in first.
yeah. Yes. Well, he needs it for like the insurance information. And so our insurance premiums went down because he lost so much weight and his blood work
Wow.
came back so good. And so I think he's 32 and his metabolic age is like 28, which, makes our insurance a little bit less expensive, which is nice.
That's another
But
benefit I didn't see
I
coming.
guess that's true. Yeah. Yeah, so and yeah, the doctor was like, "What have you been doing to Garrett?" And he said, "Well, we've been eating carnivore." And he was like, "I've heard about that." This is kind of a younger doctor. And and Garrett kind of explained it, and he was like, "Well, keep doing it. Keep doing what's working. It's working. Your labs look good. Your weight looks good. Your skin looks good. Like don't stop doing it." And then I went in and explained to him as well, and he just seemed excited. He seemed like happy for us, and I like that we have a supportive doctor. And the thing is we don't have to go in and see the doctor most of the time, but we like that it wasn't like, "Oh, you should definitely not be doing that. Like, what about your cholesterol? What about your heart?" Or whatever it is. And that's why our tagline is "My cholesterol is fine," because that's the first thing that people ask you. But what about cholesterol?
I do like that tagline you got there. Would you like to share your photos?
Yeah, let's do it. Let me see if I can do this properly, and I want to make sure I
We're going to
get
take a look at her photos here, folks. And this is,
yes.
I love looking at transformations. It's amazing.
Yes, let me flip through these pregnancy ones here. Okay, so we'll start here. Let me make sure share screen window. Okay. There we go. Is it working? There we go.
There you go.
Okay. All right. So this
That doesn't even
one
look like you.
thank you.
No, seriously. Wow. That looks like a
Yeah.
different person.
So this was when I was plant-based. This was full blown. I mean, I say plant-based, but like I said before, whole food plant-based binge eating standard American diet. So I'm gonna try to remember which photo this was. Oh, let me go up here really quick so I can give you a date. So this was like June 20. Oh, I'm sorry, May of 2022. 9 months postpartum. So this was after my third baby, and I'm 180 pounds here. And I was exercising 4 to 5 times per week, eating plant based. And another part of my journey that's a little bit frustrating is that I had to stop breastfeeding because my baby wasn't getting to the proper weight.
Mm.
And I thought that it was something like that couldn't have been me because I was eating plant based. That was my thinking at the time. And so they to the point where they're like, "We should put you in, we need to put your daughter in the hospital." She was like 4 months, or sorry, 9 months at the time because she was so small. And so, because you could see her ribs, and I had to go on formula, which has a lot of garbage in it. Now I know that, but at the time I didn't know that. Anyway, we're all trying to do the best we can, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
At the time. So this is a side view of that same photo. This you can see
Your
here.
hair does look a lot nicer.
Good. You'll be able to see it too in a couple of other photos where you see the side by side. This is
I
just
like how your biggest photo is like still skinnier than me.
but like, oh, the level of inflammation was
Yeah.
crazy. And yeah, it's totally a personal journey. And I don't know JT's whole story, you guys. I need to go back and I need to go through JT's whole story. because some people really struggle with weight and some people really struggle with just like these crazy sicknesses and these crazy issues, and some people have both. So I need to really read up on JT's experience for sure.
For sure.
And this is the side view. This I always thought was diastasis recti, which is where your abdomen, when you're pregnant, it stays open. The abs are supposed to be together in your stomach and hold your guts in, basically.
Mhm.
And I thought it was just separated, and that's why my stomach was sticking out like that. But this is tons of visceral fat, which I believe created the toxicity in my blood, which caused the HS.
That's about as much as I've got. I've got a lot of visceral fat on my belly. I just cannot seem to burn off.
Oh my gosh, it is crazy. I'm gonna like I still have quite a bit, I think. And I wish I'd taken like a before MRI, like Dr. O'Mara says, so I could just like see the difference. Cause I'm sure we've
Mhm.
both made a ton of progress,
Oh yeah.
but it's so hard to see from the outside. And I do have a small hernia, which I did get diagnosed with. So that's
Really?
something I'll have to get fixed. I don't know how much of this is actually the hernia. But it's been a long time since then. This is at 189, so I was even bigger. Still eating plant-based, super swollen in my abdomen. I couldn't ever lose any weight. I thought that I just needed to exercise more. This is when the IBS symptoms were ramping up and were becoming more frequent, those passing out, and not responding. And
Mhm.
that's around the time Garrett ended up having to call the ambulance. This was actually at 28 years old. And I just remember my rescue dog like not leaving my side for like 3 days
Oh,
after
wow.
that. I think it scared her really bad, but and then you can see the visceral fat is even worse here. And this was June of 2022, so a couple months later. That's lots of visceral fat there.
Yeah.
um and then you can see here, this is a HS bump right here. And it's faded finally, but this is July 7th of 2023, the day I started carnivore.
Wow.
So this is where I was starting. And yeah, I was so inflamed, and it's really hard to maybe see the extent of it. This is a back view of that July 7th, 2023. And this is 7 days later.
Wow. Yeah, look at
So,
wow, that inflammation went down crazy.
yeah. So I took photos every 7 days. I'm not going to show all of those because I think that this was the most um the largest change between the two photos. And this right here, I'm going to be sharing my story in another video about plastic surgery. I didn't end up getting plastic surgery, but we had saved everything up. We'd booked the flights. We had done everything to go and get this surgery done. And the plastic surgeon told me that in order to fix these, what do you call this? Like back rolls, bra rolls? I
I
don't
just
know.
call them rolls.
Yeah, they definitely look like rolls. He's like, well, the only way to fix that would be to cut right here across your back, and then cut here and take out a large chunk of skin, and then pull the skin up and sew it here so that this lays flat. Like you
Oof.
would take out a large chunk of skin.
Eeh.
And I was like, oh my gosh, like I felt so depressed about that because, I'd exercised for so long. I'm like, well, exercise isn't going to fix this. And, and so anyway, 7 days later, it's like
You had a surgery
all
without a
the,
surgery.
yeah, it
Talk
was
about
like,
saving even more money on the carnivore diet. You
I
didn't even
know.
need the damn surgery. That's amazing.
I know. And then my waist got a little narrower. I didn't take measurements. I wish I had, but I picked either measurements or pictures, and I decided to do pictures because I'm a very visual person and that would keep me more motivated. But I was not expecting such a large change.
Absolutely.
Um, so let me go down and make sure that I have. So that's day 1, day 7, and then I've got a side view of that. So this is day 1. You can see my midsection here, and you can see the cellulite down here or the rippling, and then just the difference after 7 days. You can kind of see some definition here, and there's not as much cellulite or rippling in my legs. And so when I saw this day 1 to day 7, and when Garrett saw this, that's when he started.
He's like, I want some.
He was like 7, like, to me that's mind-blowing that you can do something for 7 days and not be hungry and not be grumpy and not be exercising and still experience so much benefit. And
Yeah,
I was starting to get the insomnia and things like that, but like, you have got to push past that in order to get the healing, cuz none of our journeys is easy, right? But
right.
eventually it will be easy. It will seem easy because you'll know what you're doing and your body will be healing. Um, so this is day 1 to day 60. So you can kind of see that visceral fat going down better. A lot of this could be the hernia. I'm not exactly sure, but I do still think I have a decent amount of visceral fat. My rippling in my legs is gone here.
Yeah.
And then that roll is almost gone. And this was the hair thing I was talking about. You can see how frizzy this is. And I literally didn't do anything different. I didn't change products. I didn't dye my hair. I didn't get any treatments. It's just smooth and almost like a different color. I don't
Yeah,
know.
really, yeah, it's
Super
amazing.
weird,
I was
but
gonna ask you if you dyed your hair or
I know.
with those 2 photos in that 7 days or not.
Yes. But I feel like it's more rich and it's not like frizzy on top anymore, which is crazy. But I do have to wash my hair more often. I used to be able to go back here, I could go a week without washing my hair at all and it would still be dry on wash day. And now I go like 3 days and I need to wash it. But I think it's just because the oils on my skin are producing naturally. And so it keeps my hair nice for those couple days and then I just wash it. So
That's amazing.
um, and here's that back view, same day 60 on the right here, day 1 to day 60. And you
Wow.
can see that those are really going away.
Yeah.
I'm starting to get a thigh gap. Not that the thigh gap is the end all be all, you guys, but
Hey, you gotta have some goals on
there's
Carnivore, right?
yeah, there's some changing there. This is funny because these arms here in Mormonism, there's a group called the Relief Society where the women go, and that's kind of your class, and you learn about whatever you learn about. And people joke that these saggy arms are Relief Society arms in
Oh,
Mormonism.
no. You got those too then a little bit.
I had the Relief Society arms, you guys. And I would joke to Garrett, like, look at my Relief Society arms. And that's so bad. It's not a diss at all to Mormons or anything. It's just like an inside joke in Mormonism. Like
Yeah,
that,
yeah, I
that
get
was a
you.
very common thing to like kind of joke about. But
I used to call them flabbies, flabby arms.
flabbies. That's funny. Oh my gosh. And then this is day 1 to day 90. It's a slow process, you guys. You'll notice large differences at the beginning, like you could see from day 1 to day 7.
Your stomach's a lot smaller a day 90.
Yes, yes. And yeah, the rippling isn't in my legs. You can kind of see the definition of muscles in my legs a little bit better. That you can end in my arms here. You can kind of see the shoulder muscle under there. But it's a slow process, and your body's doing so many things inside that you can't see, and that's really hard. That's really hard to deal with when you're like, look at all these changes at the beginning, and then it's like, why am I not changing anymore? But it just takes a while. So I feel you if you're struggling with that. I still struggle with it, but just take pictures anyway. I know it's hard, but
Take neck measurements too. I wish I would have measured my big old turkey neck.
yes, I know. Well, and now that you mentioned that, this you can kind of see my neck sticking out here, and then this
Yeah,
is
it's smaller in the second photo.
curved in better. And so yeah, this was a big one for me, being able to see that definition in my stomach a little more. And this is all without exercise. Um,
Oh,
oh, okay, this one's on here, but this is the same underwear. Guys, don't make fun of me. I don't buy underwear very often, okay? But this was pulled up the exact same way. So this is 189 pounds. And I think this is 155 pounds
wow.
in this photo. But you can just, this is all without exercise. So when people say, like, I thought I was broad backed, like, you can kind of see this width right here. I thought that I just had that stature. And it's like, you don't. All women have a very feminine body shape and all men have a masculine body shape. So don't make any you know, conclusions about the way that your body looks without it being in its optimal state. I just think that's so important because we just kind of like label ourselves like, I'm this shape, or I'm, you know, just going to be this weight because it's genetic or whatever. Don't do that. Be, just eat the right foods and just enjoy the changes in your body, because we're supposed to be strong people. We're supposed to be beautiful people. I believe that God made everybody beautiful, but we
Absolutely.
just treat ourselves like garbage and then we look like garbage. You know, like we have to give it what it's supposed to have.
Yep.
And
Gotta
so,
love yourself, right?
yes. And then really quick, this is just the inflammation going down June 2022 to October of 2023. Um, and I just, this is like less inflammation. You can see my eyes here are better. The ring around my eyes is dark, which I've heard. I can't remember where I heard that. I need to look it up again, but that's a sign of good health, is that you have a dark ring around your eyes.
Mm,
Um, and so the nose, Dr. O'Mara talks about how your nose will hold inflammation.
yeah.
And I see that here. This is very puffy.
Yeah.
Around my lips is puffy.
Wow.
My jaw is puffy. And I didn't really know that I had a cleft lip, or I'm sorry, a cleft chin. But I do. That's kind of a prominent feature of mine that I didn't realize I had because I was so puffy for so long.
Mm.
So yeah, so that's
We
just
get
a
to see our real chins on Carnivore. I love it, man.
yes, real jawlines.
Let's go.
Oh, and then I'll just share this one really quick. This is me and Garrett in November of 2021. And this is this year, July, or I'm sorry, this is November of 2023.
Well, I noticed
Um,
you got less dress on in the second photo.
I know. I was like proud of my legs. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to
Absolutely.
show my legs.
Good for you. And he looks incredible. He's doing good. I
Yeah,
can see it in his face and his neck.
yes. Garrett's poor neck. It was,
And that's a
yeah.
great he's got the perfect angle, both you guys, like, to reenact that photo. That's awesome.
Can you tell it's the same photographer?
Well, yeah, actually, what is
You,
it, like a friend or
yeah, well, she's been our friend and our photographer for a couple years now, and I love this pose, so she always puts us in this pose.
I
But
like that.
this, I really loved being able to see us like look like ourselves. And I did have a baby a couple months before this photo was taken, so yeah, let me see. Oh yeah, here's just one more, I guess. I was
Wow.
pregnant. I
What a
was pregnant here.
transformation, you guys. You see that? Wow.
Yeah. So, and there's that cleft lip or left. Why do I keep saying lip? Cleft chin.
Chin.
Yes.
You know, and I honestly, I'm so happy for you. I'm so proud of you. Like, you have done amazing job on your health journey. Honestly,
Thank you. Oh,
it's
you're so
amazing.
kind.
It's amazing. Now, we've already blew past an hour like so fast. Like, you did
Woo!
amazing. Um, before we go, I got two more things and then we'll wrap it up.
Okay.
First thing, what message would you give to maybe not vegans who, aren't suffering from their diet at the moment, but if there's anybody on a vegan diet and they aren't feeling well, what 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 advice would you give them at being a former
Ooh.
vegan?
Oh, wow. Um, I I have a lot of things, but I would say that it's really important to not, and this goes for absolutely anything. It's really important to not become stagnant in your life. It's important to constantly be questioning the narrative. It doesn't matter what the narrative is. When we were leaving Mormonism, we were in that for so long because we didn't question anything. We just took it on good faith, like,
Mm,
well, other people told us this is how it is, so this is how it must be. And it was the same thing with forks over knives. Well, they told us and sold it to us this way, so this is how it must be. And nobody could change our minds because we didn't care to listen to anybody. We thought we were right. And I think same thing with carnivores. We need to constantly be questioning the narrative. What's healthier? What's not healthier for us as individuals? Just because someone else tells you that something is healthy doesn't mean that it's healthy for you, right? And I totally believe that about what I'm putting out there too. And I can only share my story and share what I need, hope that someone else can try it and maybe save their life or save someone else's life or enjoy life better.
Mm.
And I just think that that is so important. Question what you believe. If you're a vegan out there and you're not feeling good, that's for a reason. There's a reason you're not feeling good. If you're keto and you don't feel good, you're eating something that's not making you feel good. And if you're carnivore and you don't feel good, maybe you need something in there that's also carnivore or maybe something else. Like we need to have an open dialogue and open discussions and not be afraid to offend each other. And I think that's the most important message I could get out there, is to just question what you believe.
Wow, I love that. I absolutely love that. Now, I like asking people what's on their heart, what's on your mind, and I'm you're no different. I want to know, before we wrap up, what's on your heart, what's on your mind, what would you like to say to everybody while you get a moment, and it could be about anything.
Yeah. Oh man, my heart just started beating fast. Um, Oh, geez. Well, I haven't really had this opportunity yet, but I just want everybody to know that God loves them, that, Jesus loves you. And it doesn't matter where you're at on your journey, or where you live or where you are. God knows you and God knows where you are in your life. And He's putting things in your path, in your journey, and people in your path to help you. Everything that's happening to you is for your own good, even sometimes when it doesn't seem like it. And like my personal experience with being vegan, why did God make me be vegan for 10 years and not tell me sooner or not get into my mind sooner, but in reality, now I have the experience under my belt to share this story, to glorify God and to glorify people and what their biology is supposed to, to eat and to be like, and what kind of person I can be through this whole entire experience. And I think I needed to be beaten down so that I could raise people up. And I think that's the most important thing I would like to share, is that God loves you, God sees you, and we are here trying to be His hands and trying to bring people to Him through health and happiness and joy.
That was beautiful. I love that, Hayley. Now, I want to do a couple shout outs in the chat, and then while we're doing that, I'm going to put your YouTube channel on the screen here, so everybody
Ooh.
go and subscribe. Meat is where it's at. I'm logged in the wrong account, but I am subscribed to you. Don't worry. I get that all the time.
No worries.
Let's give a couple shout outs to everybody who's been in here all night, and I appreciate you guys. Cyber Goose, Don, Sandra, Charles, Marcia, Renee, how you doing? Sandra, David, DC Learn and Live. What's up, buddy? Darth Carnivore. Love that name. Let's see here. Who else? The Carnivore Boss. What's up, boss? Carnivore Backwoods. John, my buddy. What's going on, dude?
Hi.
That's my dude. Wicked Stitches. How you doing? Just making sure I don't miss anybody here. I appreciate you guys. Twin Maples, how you doing? Sub to Hayley, thank you. Yes.
Thanks.
Paul Looping, how you doing? Make sure we didn't miss anybody else here. Yeah, lots of comments.
Wow. Oh, geez, I saw all the sweet comments.
Yeah,
you guys are so nice.
Been awesome. Karen, how you doing, Karen? She's such a sweetheart. She's a great supporter of everybody. She's really got a big heart. Carnivore Keith, how you doing, Keith? Sub, ditto. Thanks. You guys are awesome. Hey, John, man, you're the bomb, dude, man.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, who's lucky to get some memberships.
Yes.
Appreciate you, John. Love you, buddy. This has been fun, Hayley.
Yay! I'm glad. I was
We,
really nervous.
I don't know why you do this all the time and you have the Lioness Lifestyle podcast, right?
Yes, yes, we do a show every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, and it's with Christy at Meeting Wellness and Ellie at Nourishment Redacted. And we talk a lot about women's health and interview lots of amazing female carnivore lionesses, and it's awesome.
Power to the women, power to the carnivore women. I'm telling you, I love it. You girls are really stepping up and just taking your place in the scene and being such great examples. Like that's why I try to send any woman I have that's not been on your guys' show over to you guys. And I'm bothering Christy all the time. I'm like, hey Christy, I got another lady who wants to get on.
I bet she loves that. Yes, we are always recruiting, always looking for new people and new experiences, and we just love that community.
Absolutely. And if you guys could just take a moment to go and subscribe to Hayley's channel, that would mean the world to the both of us. And would you come back sometime in the future for an update or maybe pressure your husband Garrett to get on here?
We'd love to do both. Yeah, absolutely. Whatever you guys are willing to put our faces, up there and not be embarrassed by us. We can get a little bit silly and talk about poop a lot, but it's
It,
fine.
it's part of life, man. If you ain't doing it, you're probably not alive very long. So, it's part of life, and I appreciate you coming on here and putting yourself out there and being a good example, because I know someone's going to hear your story and they're going to say, because of her, I totally turned things around. So I'm proud of you. Keep being a great wife, great example, great mother, because you're doing it all, and it's everybody can see it. I'm telling you.
Oh, thank you, JT. That means the world to me. And it is hard when sometimes you feel like you're not that person people can look up to. Like, I'm not a doctor. I'm not, someone who has like any sort of education under my belt. And so, you saying that really helps my confidence and my self esteem in this kind of space. It's new, and I love that. Thank you.
Absolutely. I'm glad I could help you. And you guys, this has been fun. I appreciate you guys. We're going to have some more episodes this year. So, Chatting with Carnivores is not going anywhere. And I'm going to hopefully bring back some more people I've had on the show for some updates. That would be my plan this year. But yeah, she's got great energy. She's got a great story.
Thank you.
Yep. Well, you guys, that has been it. My coach always says the first law of learning is repetition. So please replay this over. And there's value in Hayley and there's value in her story. So that's why I say to replay this, because we learned a lot of things. We laughed about a lot of things. And I'm telling you, this was eye-opening about your old religion and how it affected your diet and all that. This has been extremely interesting to me.
Oh, thank you so much. It's really awesome to kind of get it off my chest and be able to share it. This is like my second time sharing it, and I just felt like you were such an amazing listener, and you asked all the best questions and made it so comfortable. And so, you guys, JT is where it's at.
Thank you. It warms my heart. I appreciate that. Awesome interview. Awesome live. Thank you guys. Yes.
Thanks.
Have a great evening, John and everybody. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. John, thank you again for gifting those memberships. It does not go unnoticed, my guy. I'm going to be texting you after this. I just got my new iPhone, so I have to call up Spectrum and get it activated, but I will be texting you. And like, share, and subscribe to both of our channels. That would be appreciated. You guys, that's it though. Thank you and goodbye, and we'll see you on the next one, you guys. I'll do like Carrie.